Welcome back to Relatable Nerds. I'm Ilsa.
And I'm Kyra.
Today we are going to be recapping for you the first episode of The Last of Us. We've been so excited to see this, counting down the days, the hours, the minutes. Not only because we're big fans of the game, but because we're big fans of Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, big like Game of Thrones people. So we're pumped for the cast. We know what's going to happen in this show. And I'm not ready.
I'm not ready either. And in this first episode, they really did make you so connected to some of the characters we already lost. So if you guys haven't watched the first episode of Last of Us, please turn this video off. Do not, because it's going to be a heavy spoiler. We're going to just go through some of the key things that, you know, even if you were watching and some things were confusing, if you didn't play the game perhaps, and you're just interested in it because you're like very into that zombie kind of post-apocalyptic show.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to watch Pedro Pascal for 50 minutes just and be hot?
This show's got everything. For the video game nerds, it's got something for the ladies, because it's got Pedro Pascal.
Or doomsday preppers. I don't know.
Yeah, for all those post-apocalyptic weirdos. We are post-apocalyptic weirdos.
Yeah, and like kind of a mouthful to get into what actually this disease is. Fungus-infested brain infection, right? It gets in your brain. It kind of changes like everything that's going on with you. It controls you basically, as long as it's keeping alive in your body. So that's how it's kind of like a zombie-like thing.
A zombie, yeah.
You're basically a host. Once it gets into you, it affects humans and it affects animals. The longer you live with that fungus disease inside your body, you transform into various different fungus-like states. One of them is a clicker that we saw briefly in this episode. There is no cure for it yet. 20 years.
They can't fucking figure it out. I liked how they started with the scientists talking on that boring TV show that no one would ever watch. It made me believe, like, that this could really happen.
Oh, yeah.
And it already occurs in nature, like
penicillin, LSD, those are all types of fungus. Let's start at the beginning of this episode. We do see Joel, who is Pedro Pascal, and we see his daughter Sarah. They're living in Austin, Texas. They have this cute little relationship. It's just him and her uncle Tommy, Joel's brother. In the game, we will say, it was quick with that first 10 minutes where you meet Joel, you see his daughter. You know, it's on a TV show, it's a game.
She's the first character that you play.
Yeah. And that's like, it's a very fast-paced experience because you're kind of just you're thrown into it already within the beginning of the game. We did get to see Sarah's character develop a little bit. We got to see how she was as a person.
How she like kind of like takes care of her dad. She was so sweet to him for his birthday. They have like a very cute relationship. She's a good kid. She goes and helps out the neighbors, the Adlers. And you can tell that she kind of like picks up the slack for Joel, but doesn't really like hold anything against him.
It was really important to see that too, because Joel is going to have this relationship with a character named Ellie that we do meet later on this episode. And, you know, maybe she's going to help fill the void a little bit of the daughter that he lost just because they are around the same age. Within that day, we see Sarah, she's like going through the city. She's trying to fix a watch for her dad's birthday, and all this shit starts happening. You see like ambulances and the best people on the news and stuff, and she's overhearing it, but she can't quite confirm what's happening. Fast forward to the end of that day. Joel and Sarah are together for a little bit on his birthday. They're watching a movie. She ends up like falling asleep, carries her up to his bed. Tommy, the uncle, is now in jail. He went out and had a crazy Friday night.
Love this for him.
We see Joel having to leave Sarah at home, which maybe not the best parental choice, honestly. I don't know if I would leave my kid at home at that young of an age. So he goes and gets her, leaves Sarah at home. Sarah wakes up to all these bombs and things going off from her window. It's fucking crazy. She's all alone. She sees the Adler's dog come up to the screen, and she goes into the Adler's house. She sees that the old lady, who is basically just not able to move, now she's like turning and she looks like a zombie. She's like eating the one lady on the floor. The one guy's just sitting there like already like, holy shit, blood all over him. She freaks out. She runs out of the house, immediately runs into Joel and Tommy. They throw her in the car. They start going and she's like freaking out. Like, what the hell's happening?
Yeah. And
you're in the back of this car, which is also very much like the game. And it's very intense.
It was so cool that POV, the way that they did it, it was just like the game.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Because everything's starting to get blocked up by all the government. The government's coming in. They're trying to kill people. They think everybody has the virus, which is totally like understandable. They're going to kill anybody who comes for them because they don't want to get the disease. Long story short, a plane crashes like behind them in this foreground in the city, and their car like explodes. Something flies into it. They end up separating from Tommy. And Sarah ends up hurting her ankle, so she can't really walk or run, which is like
fucked up.
That's like the
got out of that truck. I was like, I want to see that.
That's like the worst thing that could happen to you if you're about to like try to run. What does Daddy Pedro do? Starts carrying her, runs They run through like a little like people that they see that are trying to like kill them already. They go in this pasture and they see this like army dude already, and he's like, stop right there, whatever. And unfortunately, he ends up shooting at them.
I mean, he doesn't really believe the call at first because they're like, okay, you gotta shoot them, take them out. They're civilians.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, repeat that? Like, good soldiers follow orders.
Joel didn't know what to do. Tommy ends up shooting him in the head. He comes like on the side. They reconvene, but they weren't quick enough. Sarah gets shot in the stomach.
God.
She ends up passing away. That was so traumatic and so sad. And we've been holding that back from like all of our podcast like previews and stuff and like talking about it because that's such a crucial part that happens in the first 10 minutes of the game. And it just sets the whole tone. It sets the way Joel is going to be for the rest of the season, for most of it at least.
Yeah.
It sets up why, there's going to be this division between this military base and the civilians and everybody just trying to survive. They obviously have no mercy and don't care about the civilians. So that's kind of like the last scene in that. And then it flash forwards to 20 years. So keep in mind, they were in Austin, Texas for this beginning phase of the show. Now we're going to be present day Boston. So basically now we have two divisions, two main ones, the Fireflies and Fedra. Fedra is the military government official that's kind of controlling everything. It's turned into this post-apocalyptic kind of dystopian, like, really just grimy civilization. Everyone's just kind of living in this enclosed area because they don't want to let infected in. They don't want anybody to get infected that's in that because it'll be an outbreak and they'll lose control of everything. Of course, you have groups like the Fireflies, the rebellion, who's trying to, get out of this government control because obviously they're doing some bad things, some shady things to people whenever anybody gets in power in these situations. It turns like that, especially if you see in any zombie TV shows or movies, like that's usually what happens. Trying to rebuild society and civilization, people just get insane. You do see Joel, and he is just a cutthroat, real sad man, has a pill problem, has an alcohol problem, is low-key a drug dealer. I understand why he's doing it now, per se, just to get more like whatever money, whatever they use.
And to feel anything.
Now they have a curfew from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they publicly hang people if you don't listen.
Why people are against them.
Basically, we find out that we haven't heard from Tommy, right? Tommy went off to this tower in Wyoming and he was on some mission or something and nobody's heard from him. This is all that Joel has left, right? This is his last blood relative. Like, he obviously cares about Tommy. Tommy's been with him since the beginning, since everything that happened with Sarah. We don't have that little bit in between the 20 years. He does have a girlfriend or a partner, Tess, that's kind of like with him a little bit. She is tough, real badass.
It just feels like, why would it be in a city? How did they not have like a crazy infection take over in a city?
Because everybody can be consolidated in those little apartments, and it's like stacked probably. But Boston is such a small city. I guess it was probably easy for them to control.
They're well in the Red Sox stadium.
There you go. So we end up seeing a Fireflyers headquarter base, and this is where we meet Ellie. All right, you guys. Ellie is Bella Ramsey. She is going to be one of the main characters throughout the rest of this and hopefully the next season that they do. She was actually in a Fedra military like camp thing for like kids. And Marlene, who we meet again, who is the leader of the Boston Fireflies faction, she actually put Ellie there, and she, plot twist, has the cure. She was bit. She has the whole thing like on her arm, the little mark. Nothing happened to her. She is so valuable to everyone right now, but they're trying to keep it hidden because if anybody finds that out, shit's gonna hit the fan. Marlene is realizing she needs to get Ellie to Colorado, so she's kind of setting up and planning for that.
Tess goes home. She's all beat up. Joel is like, what the hell happened to you? And she's like, listen, this happened and I didn't get the battery, and we're going to get the battery, and we're going to figure this out.
So they're basically just trying to get this battery. So they kind of go through the subway, and they end up going through a back door that leads to like one of the Fireflyers like hidden little compounds. And they walk in there and they see that like, holy shit, there's like blood leaking through the door. Everybody's like shot up. They see a dude on the floor with the battery that they were going to buy. It wasn't even working. And then we run into Ellie, who like shoots out of a room and almost like gets Joel and like stabs him. And then we see Marlene walk in. Something happened to her stomach. She obviously got shot or something in the raid. Marlene and Joel know each other. Marlene basically puts on Joel. She's like, okay, well, I want you to do this mission for me. If you guys need all these supplies and stuff like that, get her to the outside like meeting spot and just tell the people your requests and they're going to give it to you because she's worth everything. So they're like, hell yeah, like we want to find Tommy, so let's fucking do this.
Yeah.
They're still like, why is she so important though? Like, is she somebody important's daughter? They're just trying to get her back safely. They still don't know that she's immune. So Ellie, Tess, and Joel head off on this adventure. They're going to try to sneak out. And
I think it was interesting that they didn't tell them. They were just like, okay, whatever, we'll just take her.
I guess they're just really paranoid about people finding out that she's immune and like what people are going to do with her or take advantage of her. She is precious cargo. And as Tess, Joel, and Ellie are leaving, it is nighttime. We do see that they run into the guy that Joel was selling drugs to.
Yeah.
He ends up being the guy, ironically, that they have to get past.
He's testing them to see if they're infected. And then she's like, listen, gotta show you my scar, gotta tell you what's up, like, this is what's happening.
Joel has this moment where he has like a flashback, obviously, because when him and Sarah were together, when he was holding her, when she got shot at, he didn't really make a move. He like froze, and obviously he holds himself to blame for Sarah's death, and he just lunges at the guy and just basically punches him to death. It was intense.
And then like ends up like mashing his brain to shit.
Yeah, and then they basically walk off into the distance, and that is the end of episode 1. Holy shit, it was so good. So I'm so excited. I'm so glad they took the time to develop Sarah's character too. I am so excited for the rest of the season. It's only going to get more intense and more crazy from here. Are you guys watching The Last of Us? Let us know in the comments. What was your favorite part of episode 1? What do you think of these characters and what they've done so far in comparison to the video game? If you played the video game, if you haven't played the video game and you watched it, let us know what you think too. We're going to keep doing these weekly recaps of The Last of Us. They're a lot of fun for us to do. Let us know if you guys want to talk about any specific topics in The Last of Us in the comments below.
Check out our podcast, Relatable Nerds. It's on Apple, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, anywhere you can get podcasts.
Thank you guys.